Why are we lazy? Among all known species, we are the most intelligent ones. But still somehow, we are able to scroll on our phones for no reason, even though there is a mountain of tasks on our backs. We live in a world that is obsessed with productivity and hustle culture. But still somehow laziness seems to creep into our lives. It happens with me, it happens with you, and it happens with pretty much everybody. But is it really our fault? Also, I would appreciate it if you would watch this entire video carefully, because if you don't, then you might be left with some unnuanced perspective that could affect you later in life. In this video, I'm going to tell you how laziness might be a part of our biology. I'm going to tell you how our environment and upbringing might affect it, and also tell you how it might even be beneficial, and tell you how to overcome its major shortcomings. Once upon a time, scientists were curious about why some people seemed to be very active and others were couch potatoes. To try to find an answer, they turned their heads to rats. The scientists separated the rats into two groups. One group consisted of the active ones. Let's call them the hustlers. The other group was the one with the lazier ones. Let's call them couch potatoes. Then they bred the hustlers with other hustlers, and they bred the couch potatoes with other couch potatoes. After about 10 generations, scientists noticed that the differences in activity between the two groups were very prominent. But the hustlers didn't just run for nothing. They seemed to enjoy it. They had more energy and their brains seemed to reward their activity. Scientists concluded that the reason for such differences is likely to be genetic. But what are its implications for humans? Well, it may be that we also have such genetic factors. But we cannot directly compare ourselves to rats. We have other factors like our environment, lifestyle, and upbringing that affect our behavior. In a busy city, there was a man in his mid-20s named Kai. He lived a very normal life, but he always wondered how people managed to be so active in their day-to-day lives. However, he somehow was always glued to his chair. Kai's life was very fast-paced, just like the city he was living in. The city was crowded with people, cars, and noise. It wasn't exactly a place where people would go for a walk for fun. Going out to cycle was also pretty dangerous. Due to time constraints, going out to work out was also not favorable for Kai. So he often spent his free time in front of the TV and scrolling on his phone. One evening after a long day of work, he was thinking to himself. He spent most of his days sitting. He was sitting during his commute, during work, and while he was on lunch. He felt all of his energy was drained after the workday had finished. Then he started to wonder about his childhood. He thought about how he was raised. His family wasn't exactly the active kind. They usually spent their days inside, even during holidays. His family did not prioritize exercise much. Kai then remembered his childhood friend Orion. He always seemed very active and energetic. He used to walk to his destination rather than taking other modes of transport. He was also very well versed in sports. His parents were very encouraging as well. They not only prioritized his studies but also his physical training. So we can say that it's not only genetics that matter, but another big, maybe even bigger player is our habits and our environment. You know, laziness is often considered a bad trait to have, but I beg to differ. I don't think laziness is all that bad. Why, you may ask? Curiosity, creativity, necessity, and ambition can often be considered the founding fathers of innovation, alongside many others. But I believe another founding father of innovation is the quality known as laziness. Laziness is the reason why inventions like the TV remote, the light switch, and even the wheel exist. It is our desire to not put in effort that brings about the innovation that leveled up humans as a species. Laziness can grant us idle time, which helps our minds be more creative, come up with more novel connections, and think about the future. Laziness may also help us with mental health. Periods of rest can aid in recovery and prevent burnout. But let me point out an important detail. By idleness or rest, I don't mean filling up your mind with distractions. I'm not talking about scrolling on your phone. I'm talking about actually sitting down and letting your mind wander. Laziness may have some benefits, but it has some major downsides. It isn't perceived as a bad trait for nothing. I have said that laziness is one of the founding fathers of innovation. But innovation doesn't just require ideas and some vision. It requires hard work and persistence to achieve such innovation. Laziness is the trait that may prevent these necessary steps. To achieve literally anything, work and effort are required. But laziness stands against this. So, how do we prevent such major shortcomings? Well, I have some ways. They work somewhat well on their own, but they work amazingly when they are done together. Also, these ways won't just apply to some one-time things, but these ways will apply to almost any task. First of all, start slow. Start hilariously slow. If you want to read a book, then just read half a page before you go to sleep. By the end of the year, you would have read more than a book consisting of 180 pages. Better than a lot actually. But you can gradually increase it, which will lead to even greater results. Remember, don't overdo it. Stay slow. Very important point. Grow slowly and steadily without making major changes in a short span of time. Secondly, make it easier to start. Let's again use the book example. Don't put your book in some other room. Keep it on your bedside table, where you can easily reach it. Thirdly, just do the first few steps. If you don't feel like doing something, then just tell yourself you will just do the first few easy steps. If you don't feel like reading the book, then just tell yourself, I will just read the first line of where I left off. After this, there is a high likelihood you will just end up doing the entire task anyway. Yes, laziness may be a genetic cause, but it's never the only reason. So don't ever think it's hopeless. Change your habits, environment, and lifestyle if necessary. Do what is in your control without worrying about what is out of your hands. Try to use this as your strength rather than letting it be your weakness. Stand against biology if you have to. Do what is in your power to obliterate the downsides of laziness.